Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. And Tyson, we're shaking things up today. Like, we were scouring the internet. We were looking for different mock drafts that have coming out because we're recording on Thursday. Dude, we got a week until the first round. Like, it's coming fast. So we're going to go through Mel Kiper and Field Yates is recent mock draft. Now, Daniel Jeremiah, guy that me and Tyson really lean on, he hasn't put out his 3.0 or his 4.0, whatever he's on now yet. So we're diving into this one.
Yeah, it's going to come out tomorrow. Like, we're sure of it. As soon as we record this, it'll drop. But we're going to go through these guys' alternated picks. It's something to keep in mind. Mel Kiper goes first. Field Yates goes second. So Mel has the odds. Field has the evens. But it's two of the best in the business, or two of the most plugged in, I guess, are the ones that have the most resources to be plugged in. Those what they think is going to happen. And I do want to mention before we start that Bill Belichick quote on the Pat McAfee show about how teams don't even really, like, they're not putting anything out until the day before. So this is all smoke. Everything that we've heard is smoke. The mock drafts are going to change drastically between now and next Wednesday.
Yeah, and especially when we saw Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft last year when it was literally the day before. He's like, oh, Texans get up. And we're like, this is crazy. And what happens? The Texans do it. So if you really want to know what's going on, yeah, right now, this is speculation. This is where they think teams are going to be drafting these players. They may not even like these players, some of them in the first round, right? But they think the teams are going to draft them here. They think the teams are going to do this, yada, yada, yada. So we'll dive through it, Tyson. Let's get into it now. We'll kind of give our overall thoughts on the first round. We'll go through that's a 3-round mock. So we'll go through, some of the things that jump out in the later rounds too, some high profile players. But as expected, right? Caleb Williams to the Bears. I think everybody with a brain is going to have that one.
Yeah, I mean, next. Like, this is everybody knows.
What popped out to me early is Jaden Daniels to the Washington Commanders, Drake May to the New England Patriots. Kind of a flip-flop from what I think it's going to happen. So what do you think's going on here?
Well, if you're following the books at all, like, this is what they think is going to happen too. So I think there's something to this. We've been going back and forth, everybody in America has, since the college football season wrapped up. Is it going to be Jaden Daniels? Is it going to be Drake May? We did our position rankings. I think that there's more things to, talk yourself into potentially with Drake May. But if, like, you want a culture setter or somebody who's going to change the tone, I think that's more Jaden Daniels, and Washington has a million picks in the top 100 here. So if this is your guy, you got to get him some toys later.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too when you look at who the draftee is, or the drafter is, excuse me, of the Commanders. It's the guy from the 49ers. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Adam Peters, who is the executive with the 49ers when they drafted Trey Lance, a guy who can run, can throw, and you're kind of getting the same school of thought there with Jaden Daniels. So that's something to keep an eye on. And they're going to stick it too. I want to point that out. They said there's probably nothing that anybody can offer them that would move them out of the number 2 spot. And I tend to agree. Like, if you think you're getting a franchise QB, you got to draft them here. There's nothing that you can really give up.
You don't think that was like a thinly veiled, hey, come get him? Somebody come up and get your guy.
I'm sure they said that I'm sure they were hoping the Broncos just literally mortgaged their future. Like, was somebody going to be stupid enough to try to give us a Godfather offer? But I think they're staying at 2.
I agree.
And yeah, Drake May, New England Patriots. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots traded out here, Tyson. Like, what do you think of that?
That's what I've been thinking this pretty much this whole time. A lot of people are saying, like, they don't feel like New England wants to trade out, but this is the cupboard is so bare, and you just are inheriting like a longer leash than probably normal. Like, I don't envision Jared Mayo getting canned in 3 years if things aren't, he's got to win 6 games, but if he's improving every year, this team stinks. Like, they need receiver, they need offensive line, they need quarter, they need all these guys getting mocked in the top 10. They need 3 or 4 of them. So if you can move back to, if you swap even with a Denver, like, you go all the way back to 12, I think that's preferable, and then add more picks, because one thing we know for sure is they won't be taking a guy like Cole Strange in the second round. I think this is blue chipper city. We only want the guys that, like, everybody else knows can play too.
Yeah, I think keep an eye on the Vikings going actually making a deal with the Patriots, because everybody has them making a move at 4. To me, I don't see them not picking Marvin Harrison Jr., and that's what Kiper and Yates have.
He's going to be the first off the board. And I know that we're hearing a lot of like, oh, all these NFL teams have Malik Neighbors over him, and that's probably true. But I would imagine the guys that have Malik Neighbors over him are picking it in the 20s and not at 4. He just fits so well with Kyler Murray. It's seems like a no brainer at this point.
Yeah, and all these NFL teams, they can have Malik Neighbors on their higher on their board. Where do the Cardinals have them? Because if the
Exactly.
Cardinals have Harrison number 1, it doesn't matter where everybody else has Malik Neighbors. And then here's where we get our first trade. The Vikings actually make a deal with the Chargers so that the Vikings can take J.J. McCarthy. Now, this has been a popular move, right? 4 quarterbacks, top 4 picks, 4 quarterbacks in the top 5. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens here. And I think if you're going to look at the Chargers as a trade down candidate, there's potential here because, they also need to retool a little bit and get younger. And if old Jim Harbaugh can get his boy J.J. McCarthy into a pretty good situation with Minnesota, I think he'll take that opportunity to do so.
That would be wild. I think that would bug people around the NFL, especially if the compensation was like a little bit short of what these trades normally command. The closer we get to the draft, for me, I think that JJ McCarthy is going to slide in somewhere between 9 to 12. Like
Okay.
I don't think that it just feels too. I've seen this movie, like I understand at this part of the draft season, and we went through it. Like we both think he's a good player, but I do think that. He's certainly being aided at least by the lack of like true blue chip defensive players here. So there's going to be a huge rush on offense, and somebody's going to trade up to get him. But I just think it'll be later in the top 10.
Interesting. And the Giants have Malik Neighbors, or they have the Giants selecting Malik Neighbors, LSU, who we just talked about. To me, that's got to be the pick. I mean, I know the offensive line situation is bad there. You got to have somebody to throw the football to. Like, it's actually a joke what the Giants have been trotting out there. Like, I don't know how they haven't found a single guy, man. It's been like years at this point.
It's been bad for a long time, but not for lack of trying, right? Like they went out and they get some of these guys. They pay for Kenny Galladay and Kadarius Toney, and they brought people in. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants are a trade back candidate as well. It's just trying to find a partner where they can stick within that range of the big 3 wideouts, because I do think that's the way they want to go. Brock Bowers is a heck of a player, but like the upgrade between Wan'Dale Robinson at year 1 and Rome Odunze versus Malik Neighbors, or Daniel Bellinger to Brock Bowers, right? Like it's not the same thing.
No, it's not. And I do think listen, there's excitement surrounding the Giants because it's not what it's been in the past. I know, but it's more the regime. Like, it's not what it's been in the past. So it's like, all right, if maybe we get a couple pieces here. If they trade back, this city is going to go nuts, man. I'm telling you, they're going to be pissed because everybody I know is saying, take Odunze or take Neighbors. And if they trade back, it's going to burn to the ground. But Tyson, in this situation, I don't know if anybody's happier than the Tennessee Titans if they can select Joe Alt at 7.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Callahan, like, you're giving one of the best offensive line minds in the NFL, the best offensive line prospect. There are a little bit of concerns with Joe Alt, like maybe he's actually too big, right? Like, this dude is massive, and let's see how long he plays. But outside of that, like, when you want somebody to check boxes, he hits pretty much everyone down to the freaking school he went to, right? Like, you're not supposed to helmet scout. Sometimes these Notre Dame offensive linemen come in the league, and you go, he's going to be good. And Joe Alt is next in line.
Yeah, and Kiper says Alt says number 1 tackle. I think, a lot of people have said that. And then, the least surprising pick ever, the Atlanta Falcons have selected Dallas Turner. So I think they're going to go edge. It's just which way they go. I mean, they haven't generated a pass rush in the new millennium, it feels like. I mean, they are constantly not getting after the quarterback. Dallas Turner would be my pick if I'm Atlanta. Like, I need somebody who's different. Jared Verse, I think he's going to be a good pro. I'm a little concerned that he's not quite as bendy coming around the edge, or it's a little stiff. Turner gives you just something different, man. Like, if he hits, you're looking at potentially Von Miller.
But if he doesn't, I think you're looking at, somebody that bounces around a couple teams before the end of their first contract and isn't getting paid. Like, the dude's, he's tiny for the position. He's a big human being, but compared to other edge rushers, and I think he will be the pick here, especially it's the first time in a long time that we're not all going into the draft going, Atlanta's taking offense. So they might. Is what I'm trying to say. I have no idea.
Oh man, if Dallas Turner doesn't hit, he's going to be Vic Beasley, who the Falcons also
True.
drafted.
That's actually like exactly who it would be. That's
I
funny.
can picture Chicago throwing a parade here because Mel Kiper has a Dunze going to Chicago Bears, and if you get Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze in this draft, they can have the worst draft of all time with the following picks, but it doesn't matter because they got their quarterback and they got their future star wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the biggest slam dunk on every mock right now in America. Everybody that's putting one out has Rome at 9, which again might be a reason to be concerned. Like it's weird that this has been steadfast. There's been movement with every other team in the top 10, and it's Roma Dunze to the Bears. I would love this. We talked about it a while ago, but I think he's the most can't miss of the wide receivers.
Now, Field Yates has Troy Fatanu out of Washington, the offensive tackle guard to the Jets. He's kind of spurning the popular thing of Brock Bowers and getting another weapon there. I agree with him here. I think the Jets go tackle, whether it's Fatanu or Fashanu out of Penn State. I think it's one of those two players.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Or, J.C. Latham, who they have going next, a little mini run here in offensive lineman. When I watch Washington, I like the kid on the right side of the ball. That's to me. To me, I think he's going to end up being a better player. But I understand that we're looking at metrics and all of that stuff. But yeah, and next the Chargers get their lineman. Like Harbaugh gets to get his hands on J.C. Latham, who he saw like for 60 minutes. So he's got like a little bit of like he scouted the dude and understands who he is. And I think this would be a smash. He's a huge. You want to run the football? Get J.C. Latham.
Yeah, and he's rising up boards quick. I can tell you that. Like, there's a guy I just saw him. It's an executive in the NFC, something like that. He said he actually thinks Latham's going to be the best tackle in this class, and that includes Joe Alt. So his ceiling is high. He's coming out after his junior year, so he's got more talent to scratch there. And then Denver Broncos are selecting Brock Bowers. This is Field Yates' pick. This is interesting, right? It's unconventional because everybody has him taking quarterback. I think if Bowers is here, you have to take him if you're the Broncos. You have to. Bo Nix, that's a reach at 12. I know you need a QB. You don't need him that bad. Like, you can figure it out type of deal. You can get a potential superstar tight end. I think you have to do it.
It's Jarrett Stidham right now?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that could be real. Like I think he might end up being, at least holding the job going into camp.
Yeah.
It would be frustrating that Brock Bowers would be going into an offense where the head coach like famously hates his rookies because I think this is one of the rare offensive or tight end prospects that's ready to play right now. And shout out to everybody that's been holding on to hope for Greg Dulcich because this would be the end of it.
Raiders go cornerback Quinion Mitchell, according to Kiper at 13. I don't know about that. I think you got to go offensive lineman here if I'm the Raiders. But I mean, Quinion Mitchell's special, right? Like he's going to be the first cornerback off the board. That's your number one guy in this class. So I think maybe two with Antonio Pierce, defensive guy. The secondary has been like bad forever. So maybe they do just go get a potential Darrelle Revis, just throwing a name out there like that type of guy, shutdown guy, especially in that division. I'd be surprised if they went this route, though.
I like this fit because I think that this is a kid who's going to like know how to play and know the work that he needs to put in every day. And I think that's the culture Antonio Pierce is trying to build. Brad, we've come a long way from I guess they're in Vegas now, so that's the difference. But the Oakland Raiders, they're taking Xavier Worthy, and they're not thinking twice.
Yeah, true. That's for true. That is for sure. The Saints select Olu Fashanu from Penn State at 14. I would not be surprised. I mean, the Saints would love it if he fell here. With Ryan Ramczak's thing, Trevor Penning stinks. You get a guy who can pass block as good as Fashanu, then I think you got to take him here.
And he could go either side. It would just be who do you think stinks more between Ramczyk and Penning, and that would be. That's actually maybe a tougher question to answer. I think that Trevor Penning is so up in the air, dude. Like, remember how hype people were on this guy?
I didn't get it, man.
I never understood it either, but I was just chalked it up to I don't know what I'm looking at when I'm scouting or looking at these offensive linemen. But they've needed offensive tackle help for 11 seasons, so swing again.
Yeah. Terry and Arnold, my CB1 going to the Colts. I think they'll go defensive back here, whether it's Mitchell or Arnold. It feels like they're going to get a shot at those two. I think this would be a good pick for them. I think Colts fans will be happy.
I think that if this mock is true, like if this is what ends up happening the way the board falls, there's no way the Colts aren't trading up and getting Brock Bowers. And I think I think
Mm,
that that should be the number one guy that they have circled. That's the person I'm watching to come up and take Brock Bowers. Outside of that, Terran Arnold's going to be a good player, but again, like everybody's excited about getting these other new quarterbacks weapons. Bryce Young needs wide receivers. The Texans go out and they get Stephon Diggs for CJ Stroud. Anthony Richardson was the fourth pick in the draft. Like
yeah.
Michael Pittman had a good season. Jonathan Taylor came back and had a good season. They want to keep adding guys that are going to be on the same timeline, especially skill position guys.
Yeah, I like that. That would be something else, man. Just build on these young deals or these rookie deals. Seattle Seahawks, Byron Murphy the second. Interesting. Little off the field issue there. The Seahawks haven't been a team that's necessarily cared. John Schneider's still there. I mean, they think they have a culture in place where you can overcome that. With Pete Carroll not there anymore, and it's Mike McDonald. Do they still do that? I'm curious. On the surface, this is a great pick. I mean, you want to talk about a run stuffer for Mike McDonald's new defense there. I mean, damn, you're getting them.
Did you see the report or the pictures that Mike McDonald took down all the Pete Carroll, or I don't know if it
Yeah,
was him specifically, but they took down everything from the Pete Carroll era? That felt,
got rid of
it's
the
not a shot
basketball
across
hoop.
the bow, but it's like, man, at least keep like a photo of the guy holding the Lombardi, like he won a Super Bowl. I think this is going to end up being defense all the way. Another team where I could see a trade down, especially as you kind of like if they're in love with a certain prospect, they won't do that. But I feel like a lot of these defensive players, after the top two corners, you kind of start lumping everybody into the same tier. It's a good spot to add value.
Jacksonville Jaguars and the least surprising pick ever select another wide receiver, Brian Thomas, out of LSU. Now, I think I'm going to push back a little bit here on Kiper. Like it's sexy to mock it here, and it's hilarious, honestly, because the Jags.
It's pretty funny.
If they literally watched what happened last year and said, let's go give a bunch of money to Gabe Davis, like that's going to fix our problems, and then draft the first round wide receiver. That is so classic Jacksonville Jaguars. It hurts, but my God, man, you can't draft him here. I think he's going to be a good player, but the Jags can't take him, can they?
No, I mean this is like Trevor Lawrence isn't the best deep ball thrower in the NFL, but unless that's Jacksonville's number one, like why go out and get Gabe Davis and then go, you know what we could use a faster version of that guy, and like take him in the 17th pick. I mean there are like real players that could help the Jacksonville Jaguars for the next 20 picks that would I think probably end up giving them more value, bang for their buck, so to speak, at least initially.
And here's one. The Bengals select an offensive lineman, Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State. Like, there you go, Jacksonville. Let's protect the quarterback we have. I think Bengals, the popular thing for a while was Bowers going to the Bengals. I have a hard time seeing him fall past and dropping to where the Bengals are. I think if you're here and you have this opportunity, the Bengals draft an offensive lineman. That's what you need right now.
Yeah, especially, I mean, another offseason, another year where like they go out and they get Trent Brown. They've just been throwing
Yeah.
money at this thing and trying to get, what's the infomercial, with the guy, he puts the stuff over the holes and they can never get out and knock off Billy Mays.
Yeah. Oh, man. God. What is that?
Whatever it is, that's what
Is
they're
it
trying to do. He's like
Flexi
spraying
Seal?
it in a Flex Seal. They're
Yeah,
trying to get
Flex
as much
Seal.
Flex Seal for this offensive line as they can. So keep it pushing. But I don't even know, like if Bowers makes it here to 18, they're spending a lot of money on offense for a team that doesn't like to spend a lot of money. And that's
true.
where things kind of start getting scary.
That's true. Rams select Latu, the outside linebacker edge rusher from UCLA. Now, the only reason why I think people don't have him above Dallas Turner, besides Turner's insane speed, was there's the neck question, right? The medical retirement that he had to go through. Or is that maybe am I mixing up my players here, Tyson? Okay,
that's Latu. Yeah, he
yeah,
medically retired from UCLA, came back, put up great numbers again.
yes,
Super freak of an athlete, really good player, but like the neck injuries running into NFL offensive linemen is the scariest recipe that I could imagine. If he hits, he'll be the best defensive player in this class. But if he doesn't, he's out of the league like very quickly for things that he can't control and you can't control as a front office, as a coaching staff. And that's scary.
Yeah, and we just saw that happen with Leighton Vander Esch too, right? Like he had an insane rookie year at the Cowboys out of Boise State. He had the whole neck issue. He just retired. You know, had that one couple pop years. I mean, he was good for a while, man. Like basically retired Sean Lee in the middle of that defense, and then you kind of have a ticker on that thing, right? And so we'll see. I think if you're the Rams taking him at 19 here, and if you get kind of like a burst that Vander Esch gave you, I think they'll take that, to be completely honest with you.
It would be funny if this is the first pick that Sean McVay's ever made in the first round. It's not offense.
It's
I
true.
can't see it.
Pittsburgh Steelers going the center guard from Duke Graham Barton. I mean, you want to talk about something that's not going to shock me at all. The Steelers offense line stinks. Let's see if we can get something here.
Yeah, and this is a guy who played, I think, tackle at Duke after being a center to start his career. Actually, I could probably just go over to my other tab where I have ESPN Plus pulled up. Yes, that's exactly what he did. And this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Although, like with all these wide receivers, whoever they get in the third round, like that's who everybody should be circling. That's where you're buying your stock because they're going to get one. But they have to get better on the offensive line. And honestly, like this is not a position or group where people are like you have to get more explosive or more athletic. Dude, they're slow.
Ricky Pearsall, welcome to Pittsburgh and welcome to the Hall of Fame. 21, Kiper's got Jared Verse. If they get Jared Verse, they are crossing their fingers that this kid falls to them.
Yeah, this is a guy, if you've been watching college football for a while, like you heard he was coming when he was at Albany. Like he was tearing the FCS up, and then just immediately first game against LSU was like, oh, he's the best player on the field. And I think that this is a guy who you mentioned he's a little tight in the hips, but how does Jared Verse fail? That's what I keep asking myself when I talk about or look at these defensive end prospects. I think this is a guy who's going to play for a while. Like he might not be great, but he's going to be good for a while.
Our Philadelphia Eagles, Field Yates has picking our Marius Mims, the tackle from Georgia. There's been a lot of conversation. Cornerback. Eagles need a corner. Then the closer we get to this, Tyson, the more and more I see them taking the tackle. I see them taking offensive line. I think it's smart. I think it's smart team building. It's not going to have people throwing a celebration down Broad Street. That's for sure. But if you want to know how to maintain success and never go through these droughts, you do stuff like this when you can. This is a really deep tackle class. You can get a guy who's maybe going to play a little bit in the interior, then replace Lane Johnson. It just makes too much sense.
Yeah, he's a physical freak. Getting Jeff Stoutland's hands on him would be something the Eagles would be pretty pumped up about. But I see the offensive line thing, and I understand where you're coming from. But I think that Philadelphia is a prime team to go one way or the other. I don't see the Eagles making this pick here at 22 unless there is somebody that I'm not seeing right now falling directly into their laps. This is like Howie Roseman moves more than anybody in this first round, whether it's up or down. He moves every year. And I don't think this isn't the year to sit on your hands if you're the Philadelphia Eagles.
Interesting. There you go. A little nugget there. Chargers. So they had in the trade, with Minnesota going up and flopping, the Chargers take the two number one picks. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Minnesota's armed with those two. Give it to somebody. Go draft two players in the first round. And Kiper has them taking Xavier Worthy from Texas. I don't know about this one, man. This does not seem like a Jim Harbaugh guy to me. Sure, they need speed, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
That's my initial reaction was the same. Like, I just don't think Jim Harbaugh is going to fall in love with this dude. And maybe we're wrong. Like, maybe we're reading into too much of the Michigan stuff. But I remember when he was coaching the San Francisco 49ers and, like, the way that they drafted and built their teams and the way they wanted to do things. And I never once was like, he's going to take, Ted Ginn type or whoever. Right. And that's Xavier Worthy, better route runner and all of that stuff. But, if Jim Harbaugh is walking out of here with a receiver that's not one of the top three, it's probably a Xavier Legette type. Like it's a big bodied, I'm going to block two kind of guy. It's going to be Roman Wilson, and we're all going to go, oh, that makes sense. They're going to take him in the second round at 50 or something.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what they do here. I mean, maybe they select who Field Yates has Dallas taken, and that's Tyler Guyton. Just get two tackles of the future. While maybe that's a little jumping the gun a little bit with Rashad Slater. Probably. Yeah, but I don't know, man. They're the most fascinating team to me, the Chargers. But I think if you're the Cowboys, you get Tyler Guyton here. It kind of makes sense, right? Like you gotta draft offensive lineman for Dak Prescott. That's the situation here, especially if you're going to pay him 50, 60, or 80 or 100 million or however much Dak Prescott's wanting here.
Yeah, and this is going to make sports media mad. It's going to make Dallas Cowboys fans upset, but it's a necessary thing that they have to go through. They're all in.
And then just the fits like a glove pick of them all. The Green Bay Packers selected my boy Cooper DeJean from Iowa. Everybody's hating and sleeping on him, man. Come on. Let the white kid cook in the secondary. Let's go. Cooper DeJean to the Green Bay Packers.
Dude, him and Lucas Van Ness, or they could start a boy band, like with the just off the strength of their looks. That's an album cover if I've ever seen one.
Well, the Iowa
Yeah,
kids.
he's going to go somewhere in this range, and Green Bay would make a ton of sense. This is an offense on the rise and a defense that they played one super good half, kind of at the end of the season to like put this in everybody's head against Dallas. But this isn't a very good defensive unit, and adding secondary help would be awesome, especially like Rasul Douglas was a mainstay there for a long time, and you ship him out. This is potentially a 1-for-1.
Tampa Bay Bucks selecting Chop Robinson from Penn State. I see a lot of people pushing him down in their mock drafts. I think it's a mistake. I think he's a no-brainer first rounder. I think teams view him that way. And I know people are saying, well, it's production in college. I'm sorry. If you watch the tape and you don't think that kid can play at this level, then we're going to have a conversation because the burst is ridiculous. Watch every single snap of his career. This kid can play at this level, I'm telling you. So Bucks get a gem and Chop Robinson at 26.
I don't know how many times I watched Penn State and like didn't see at least 2 almost plays from Chop Robinson. He's always he's almost there, or they're, if you watch Penn State games, if you watch the Big Ten, like there's not a ton of opportunities to rip the league up with sacks in general. And then when you watch the way teams play Penn State, it was like we got to stay away from that side of the field. I think he's going to go with first round. I think the Bucks could use a lot, like edge rusher, offensive line, obviously. The only places they're really set for the moment is wide receiver. And like people are thinking, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I thought Trey Palmer had a heck of a run to end the season there. Rashad White was good. Outside of that, you're looking around. These studs are 30. They're 35 now. You need to get young everywhere.
Yeah, that's going to be us soon, man. We're going to look around like, God, we're 30, we're 35.
I felt when I was watching the Masters this weekend, I was like, dude, Scotty Scheffler was like a couple years or a couple months older than me.
Crazy.
What am I doing?
Crazy. Nate Wiggins going to the Cards at 27. Now, if you're going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Nate Wiggins, you're playing upside. You're playing like we could have a top receiver in this league. We could have a top corner in this league. Like this would be great.
Just make them practice against each other every day, and then by the end of the second year, you have 2 All Pros. Again, like we both said, highest ceiling corner we think. And dude, he can run, and that's going to play, better than some of these other corners that just can't move.
A.D. Mitchell, receiver from Texas, going to Buffalo Bills at 28. You mocked Brian Thomas here, or said you think the fit's going to happen. They landed a similar guy, similar body type in A.D. Mitchell. What do you think of this one?
I think that if you could swap the 2 landing spots, it might make a little bit more sense for what both these teams are trying to do. I think this would be really fun, especially I think that this is one of the reasons I like Brian Thomas to the Bills is the same reason I kind of like A.D. Mitchell. They want to target hog and they want the football. Obviously, they're wide receivers, but neither one of these guys was like a true one or even like considered a one on their college team. And they're going to walk into a situation where Dalton Kincaid is going to be that target vacuum, and he's going to get 120 balls this season, and it's who can fill that secondary role. And I think A.D. Mitchell honestly probably plays off Khalil Shakir maybe a little bit better than Brian Thomas would.
Interesting. All right. So maybe it actually helps that the Jags are stupid.
It's been helping everybody else for 30 years.
That's true. Come on, Trent Baalke. Don't make us make fun of you again. Detroit Lions go interior. Darius Robinson, defensive tackle from Missouri. At this point, man, the Lions have a really good young roster. You just keep adding the trenches, baby. Keep adding in the trenches. That's what you can do when you're at this level. That's what the Eagles have done. Detroit Lions are kind of getting in that same spot with all the talent they have.
Yeah, and I think they should pick whoever they think is the most nasty. Like whoever is going to come in and fit the culture, because what they have going on right now is, it's not to say they aren't as talented as all these other top NFC teams, but uh, there's a reason they don't play the games on paper, and I think the Lions are going to find the guy that fits what they want to do.
Baltimore goes Kool-Aid McKinstry, corner from Bama at 30. Interesting fit here. They need a guy, man. They need a guy. See, floor is pretty high, I think, for Kool-Aid. It's just can he play? That's the real question.
Well, are you going to run man is the other question. And Baltimore, like, we're not like 100% sure because we haven't seen it on the field at the moment,
Good
but like
point.
we're pretty
Yep.
sure they're going to come in and run some man. And I think that Kool-Aid, like we said on our ranking show, I think he's the best man corner in the league. It's just, out of the 32 teams, that eliminates mostly who you are. That's at least half the league, right? That doesn't view you as a true one. If he goes to Baltimore, he's going to be good. Like if he goes to Cincinnati, I don't know. Actually, Big Blue looked
31.
like he coached up. Cincinnati is a bad example.
49ers take Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona. I'm not seeing that. I don't know what you think. It feels like it's a reach to me. Yeah, they need line help, but is that what they're going to do here? Like the Niners, it feels like they rarely reach. Like they just target things they need. I don't know. This doesn't feel like a fit to me.
And this would be like if they're going to go tackle, I think it's like to me it'd be Rosengarten, the right side guy from Washington. I really think this kid's going to be really good, and it would be a classic 49ers move to add that guy at the end of the round and just kind of keep it pushing. What they want is technicians, like that's what they want, and then they want to coach you into being a bulldozer. And sometimes we get that confused with they only want bulldozers. They want to throw the football too, and it's easier on them to have to teach up some run blocking than it is to be like, hey man, we're about to pay Brock Purdy $300 million. We need you to keep him alive.
And finally, the Chiefs take Xavier Legette, the wide receiver from South Carolina. So they add more weapons for Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that's a bad thing considering how much shit we talked about their wide receiving core last year. And so, yeah, rich get richer. Mahomes got another guy you can throw the ball to.
It doesn't feel like they're not going to go receiver, and we're all going to like freak out about it. And then Pat Mahomes is going to throw for 4,000 yards, 38 touchdowns, and they're going to at least be in the AFC Championship game again. Because this is just everybody. They're going wide out. And we don't know which one. That's the most fun part about this mock draft season. I'm hearing they like Xavier Legette. Well, actually, they like Ladd McConkey. They'd really love if AD Mitchell fell to them. So I don't think they want any of these dudes. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. All right. So let's do this before we get into the late round notables. What's your thoughts overall from Kiper and Yates? Anything that overly jumped out to you?
Not a ton in this first round. I think that like if Jacksonville takes Brian Thomas, I'm going to be shocked.
Oh.
Like that would be something that breaks my brain. But outside of that, like we don't think Brock Bowers is going to fall to 12. Would it be the craziest thing in the world if a superstar tight end prospect fell to 12 with like that Kyle Pitts taste is in people's mouths. Like they understand that he's a good player, but that's the last time that's a no diddy there. That was close. But there is some people can be scared of that. So I don't think anything was crazy in here. I was hoping for more.
Yeah, there's really nothing. I think we're getting closer to what it's gonna look like, right? Like, Chargers trading out of 5. That doesn't shock me. They get 2 good players in the first round. Feels like that's kind of what the direction they want to go. There's a couple teams here. This is their dream scenario, and it never really works out that way. I do think they pretty much have the position group right. But this is my thought process for the majority of teams and where they're looking. Whether they're going to be able to do that, whether it's the player, that will be seen. But I think the Jets go offensive line. I think the Giants draft receiver. I think, for sure the Falcons are going to go edge. Titans are going to go offensive line. Like you just kind of go through and I'm like, yeah, I can see it. And then last thing here, Tyson, before we're getting some later round names, notably no Bo Nix and no Michael Penix. And I think that's been a big conversation, right? Because we know quarterbacks are valued and they're overvalued in a way. I think if you're the Denver Broncos and you select Bo Nix at 12, I'm sorry. That's a bad draft pick. I know the quarterback situation isn't good, but you got to start getting more talent onto this team. And Bo Nix ain't the answer.
I think part of the reason, what I've come to the conclusion is that people think that these guys are going to go in the first round, but then when you go through the bottom half of the draft, you go, The Chiefs don't need a quarterback. The Niners don't need a quarterback. The Ravens, the Lions, the Bills, right? Arizona, Green Bay, Dallas, the like when you do that, it becomes harder to find a spot for this trade to happen or where who's gonna jump to where. But when they're picking at 12, you can just go, well, I have Bo Nix next on the board. They need quarterback. Check it off. Because in the actual NFL draft, like the Chiefs aren't going to pick in 32 or the Ravens aren't going to pick at 30. One of these
Right.
guys is going to go. We just have no idea if it's going to be the Giants that go up to take one. We don't know how the quarterbacks are going to fall at the beginning. But I think they're both second round guys. It is interesting to me. They have Penix 6 picks higher than Bo Nix, which is where we're both at on them as prospects, and maybe a little bit of it is that they're alternating here. But I think that is going to be how the NFL draft plays out too. And for 3 months, we were lied to.
Okay, let's get into the later rounds. Some notable names here. This is a 3-round mock, like we said. And speaking of Michael Penix, Kiper's got the old Rams trading up to number 33 with the Carolina Panthers. Panthers get more picks, need that. And then they're going to take Penix Jr. All right, yeah, I can see it. Interesting. Put him with McVay. You may have something just insane. Like we talked about, Tyson, if the Seahawks aren't being aggressive for him, oof, wow, that's kind of shocking, right?
It's a tough pill to swallow. Although maybe they're the ones that are like, maybe we can trade up into the top half of the second round. And it would be heartbreaking if the Rams are the ones that walk away with him if you're King Grub. If you like him, if you think like I'm the one that made this offense go, it wasn't him, then you're probably like, hell yeah. Thank you for wasting 33 on that guy. Some of these other names in here, Brad, like they have Bo Nix at 38 to the New York Giants. I'm not sure that I would really want to replace Daniel Jones with Bo Nix. Like personally, I don't. It seems like if you just had the worst improv group in America, try to do the mirror. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that one did catch me by surprise. My boy Lad McConkey, Carolina Panthers at 39. Let's just get another Adam Thielen, man. Let's get the younger Adam Thielen.
They can't do that to Lad McConkey. Like we're all trying to talk ourselves into it. They can't kill him immediately. That's not fair. Especially like he goes to the Commanders at 40. They just take Jaden Daniels, and then it's like, okay, now we're feeling good. He goes to the Panthers. He's getting beat to shit off the line of scrimmage at the beginning of every play because they're like, man, Bryce Young isn't going to be able to find him when he's not where he wants him to be.
There you go. Falcons go
40. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not even really diving into this. I just thought this was funny. Kiper's got Falcons. They can't help themselves, man. They just add another wide receiver, Malachi Corley, round 2. You know it's coming.
It's got to. Part of it, though, is like maybe a third guy wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but
fair.
We're just accustomed to that. Drake London goes 8, Kyle Pitts goes 4, Bijan Robinson goes 8, and then like the defense has been good, but it's Jesse Bates and it's guys they've gone out and signed on other teams. Eventually, you're gonna have to like get some homegrown defensive players in there. You would think. I don't know.
You got to start exporting. You can't just only import.
Well, maybe you can. That could be how Arthur Blank made his money? I'm not positive.
Yeah.
I have this one here, Mason Smith at 42 to the Houston Texans. I think is anti D'Amico Ryans like all the way. I don't see this at all. I don't know if this is a guy that is even going to be able to stay healthy and stay on the field. If this was 2 years ago and we were doing like we're drafting everybody on pure potential, Mason Smith is going above a lot of these dudes in this draft class. Tears his ACL in the first play, comes back, not great, gets hurt again, and then all of a sudden it's like, where does this leave us with this giant freak who needs a ton of time to develop? And to me, that's, you look at the Texans, you say young team, and then you look at some of the moves that they've made and you go, oh, they're trying to win now. Like, and that's not a spot where you waste 42 on a guy that's going to take a couple years.
Yeah. Couple names that have been routinely mocked in the first round. Ennis Rakestraw Jr., corner from Missouri, going to the Commanders at 36. And this one shocked me. Jackson Powers Johnson, the center guard from Oregon, going 44 to the Raiders. There's only 32, right, in the first round. Somebody's getting left out. You think so? Okay.
Yeah, he's one. Of course, he's one of them. Like, this is a giant, powerful man who's playing a position at center and guard who the NFL has decided in the last couple of years is a bit more valuable than they were previously assigning. And I think this media community and that's doing the mock draft might be a little bit slow to catch up on that, because for a long, remember Like Will Hernandez was the best guard in the
Oh yeah.
class. And then when the actual draft came, the NFL just shoved him as far down as they could put him. And now, like, we're getting to this point where you look around the league and like Quentin Nelson hit right away, and he wasn't good. He hasn't been good since, but that first year, or like uh, every offensive line now, like there is at least one really good guard, and there's a high paid guard. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. And that's, I don't think that they're going to be scared to get a guy like that. Brad, what do you think about Jalen Polk? We haven't had a Jalen Polk discussion.
I know, man. Round 2 feels a little high to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Listen, if you're gonna put up what numbers across from Odunze, then you're gonna be able to do it across from Michael Pittman. So I think that'll soften the blow there. I think if he went to the Panthers, it could be a disastrous pick.
Yeah.
Because like you
Yeah.
kind of said with McConkey, he's gonna have a hyper focus on him. Opposite of Pittman, he should find himself in one-on-ones and soft coverages and things like that. Round 2 to me seems a little bit of a stretch, but I don't know, man. Weapons are weapons, and that's what we talked about that with the Colts earlier, and they could get one here.
He's got crazy hands, and his routes are okay. And he made some circus catches a year ago, but I'll never have a bad thing to say about the Polk family. Love me some Chris Polk, and so Jalen Polk is good with me. I saw, I can't remember who it had, but they had him at 32 to the Chiefs. So this mock draft community is all over Jalen Polk, and it just kind of feels like you're just adding another one to an already deep wide receiver. It can be deep without Jalen Polk being a first or like high second round pick as well.
Jalen McMillan to the Steelers, the other wide receiver from Washington. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. Welcome to the Rookie of the Year honor.
Good for him. Good
Right?
for him.
Let's just bet it right now. How about this one, man? A little culture grab here for the Panthers. Mikey Samerstill. I think now he's older. Now he's out of college. He wants to go by Mike. So Mikey Samerstill from Michigan.
You just called him Mikey.
He's a Michigan man. I can't give
That's
him all the
true.
respect.
That's true. And it
I'm
would be
still a
good
Penn
culture.
State guy at heart.
Brad, the biggest pick here in the second round, I think, is Jonathan Brooks to the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I think if this happens, people start to lose their minds a little bit. Jonathan Brooks didn't get hurt. He's probably closer to the top half of the second round than the bottom. But I think it's between him and Trey Benson for probably who's going to get drafted first in this draft. And I think that Dallas is a pretty sexy landing spot for a running back, especially one that we know can play. It's just how soon can this dude get back on the field?
Yeah, good point. That's a good point. Man, I'm telling you right now, if the Eagles are going to get Max Melton, the corner from Rutgers at 50, Tyson's one of the top 5 guys here, and then turn around and get Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker from Texas A&M, at 50 and 53. I mean, come on, dude. You get your offensive tackle of the future in Kiper and Yates' pick, and then you get impact players who can cycle in. We're throwing a parade now, aren't we?
Well, it's fun at this time of year because everybody's an impact player. Like we're in the second round of the NFL draft. Some of these dudes aren't going to be able to play.
Some of these dudes are going to stink.
One of my favorite sequences here in this mock is the New England Patriots. Field Yates made both these picks. The New England Patriots taking Keon Coleman at the top of the second round, and then following it up at 68 by taking Tez Walker from North Carolina. And I think it's an either or a neither when it comes to, like, if you could pair 2 wide receivers in this draft class, that is not the 2 that I would choose to put on the same field. I think there's a lot of redundancies between the 2 of them, but they need as much help as they can get. Also, notably absent from this, Brad, Troy Franklin.
I thought I saw him. No, he's on the Browns. Browns 54.
Oh, I missed him. So maybe that's on me for not liking Troy Franklin very much. But one of these wide receivers in the second round, don't you just get the feeling is going to end up being at least as good as the big 3? It's just we don't know which one.
Yeah, at least one of them, right? Like we're gonna look at Neighbors could be awesome.
It might be awesome
if he goes to the Giants. That's a tough situation. I mean, ooh, good luck there. I mean, compared to Marv going, say what you want about Kyler, and we've had plenty of things to say about him on this show. That's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. And Odunze, you coming right in with Caleb Williams, and maybe it doesn't work because it is Chicago and they never throw the football there, at least successfully. So maybe that doesn't, but it just feels like you pair him with Caleb Williams, and then he's already got good pros there already, man. Like, yeah, I think the worst situation of this draft actually happens, Tyson, is your boy Neighbors.
Yeah, I think so too. And the last one that jumps out to me is Blake Corum at 97 to the Bengals. it just would be funny to see the like preeminent touchdown scorer in this draft, the guy with the best nose for the end zone, go somewhere where they only throw jump balls inside the 5. It would just be cruel.
Well, maybe they've been waiting for Blake Corum, right? So they don't have to
True.
do it.
You get Blake Corum, you can trade T. Higgins. That's how they're thinking.
Exactly. A lot of Michigan guys in here, which doesn't surprise me. You know, it was a great team. But I agree with you. I really, Zach Zinter to the Seahawks, that makes a ton of sense there. Another Michigan guy, that was just a brutal injury for him, but they were still able to overcome that. Trey Benson to Cleveland, that's interesting. And we talked about it before we jumped on here. Is he going to be able to play in that type of weather? He's a Florida guy. We'll see. But yeah, Tyson, I agree. I think there's teams who find some value. This, based on just the names here, I think this is a deeper draft as we kind of going through this process in the last couple of years, which I think is good for those teams that are looking to retool.
I totally forgot that the Dolphins forfeited their 3rd round pick this year too. I thought it was just the 1st round pick last year. So just another little nice shout out for Miami to end the show here. But yeah, it's a good draft class. Obviously as time goes on, we'll know if it was good or not. But like as prospects, I think there's a lot of really good players. I think there's some great players in this class. It's just they all happen to play offense, and 3 of them play the same position. And so it might age better in the media than in the actual NFL.
The other thing too, Tyson, we already know it could be the worst player. It could be the worst pick possible. But if the Baltimore Ravens take them, they're getting an A from all the grades, right? It's every single year.
Yeah, we'll do a grades reaction maybe, but we don't do our own grades. What's the worst they give people? Isn't it normally like a C-?
I think so. I mean, come on. If you're going to give out grades, like have the balls to give somebody an F.
I know. Come on. Like we all went to school. We understand the scale.
Yeah. Like, it's like, well, C's passing. It's like, yeah, but some people flunk out, man. Not everybody's just barely there.
And then the Lions last year, I probably were the only team to ever get an F in the history of these things, and they got 3 superstar producers. So, and we're going to be back next week with our own mock of what we think is going to happen. And obviously we have a little bit more information, so it's fun to sit here and be like, oh, that's never going to happen to these dudes just trying to do their jobs. But we've got free Todd McShay, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So that's I'll be interested to see what Jeremiah does, so stay connected with us, like, subscribe, and share. We'll get sharing our thoughts on socials as well. So you can follow the show on X, Instagram, and TikTok. It's the same handle at ISWIS_pod. But like Tyson said, our own mock draft, our 1.0, it's our 1 and final as we get ready for the first freaking round of the NFL draft next Thursday. I can't believe it. You guys will be listening to this on Friday or later, whenever you listen. So stay subscribed. We got a bunch more content coming your way. We'll be reacting to the draft, like Tyson said, making fun of people doing grades, all the fun stuff that we like to do here. So stay connected with us and share the show with your friends. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you next week, and we'll keep on diving in. Till then, guys, peace.